The broadcast began like any other heated debate, but no one could have predicted the storm that was about to unfold. Donald Trump sat in his chair with his usual swagger, convinced that the stage was his domain. The lights, the cameras, the audience, everything seemed to bend toward his presence. But then Jasmine Crockett leaned forward, her voice steady, her eyes locked directly on him. "Mr. Trump," she began, her words cutting through the air like a blade. "You've built your entire career on hiding behind half-truths, distractions, and denials. Tonight, the lies won't save you." The studio fell silent. Trump shifted in his seat, offering a smirk that was supposed to signal confidence, yet something in his body language betrayed unease. Crockett didn't pause. She continued with precision, each word escalating the tension. "America has heard your slogans. They've watched your rallies. But what they haven't seen is the past you've tried to bury. A past filled with deals you'd rather forget, names you'd rather erase, and truths you swore would never surface." Gasps rippled through the audience. Trump tried to interrupt, waving his hand dismissively, but the words had already landed. For the first time on live television, his usual bravado seemed to crack. Crockett had set the stage, and the nation was hooked. This wasn't just another debate. This was a revelation, a confrontation, and a reckoning. And it was unfolding in real time before millions of eyes. The confrontation didn't come out of nowhere. The live broadcast had been hyped for weeks, billed as a clash of heavyweights. Donald Trump entered the studio with his usual confidence, soaking in the cameras as though they were extensions of his will. His supporters in the audience cheered, eager to see their champion humiliate another opponent on live television. But Jasmine Crockett was not just another opponent. Known on Capitol Hill for her fearless cross-examinations and razor-sharp rebuttals, she had earned a reputation as the voice that dared to cut through bluster and expose what others were too cautious to say. Her presence alone brought a charge of electricity to the room. The producers knew that pairing her against Trump would guarantee fireworks. The stakes were enormous. Trump was attempting to cement his image once again as the political outsider who could dominate any conversation, no matter how hostile the setting. Crockett, on the other hand, saw the broadcast as an opportunity to hold him accountable in front of millions, stripping away the protective armor he wore whenever he stepped into public view. At first, the exchange looked predictable. Trump leaned on his familiar arsenal of jokes, insults, and exaggerated boasts, playing to the crowd as though nothing could touch him. He mocked his critics, dismissed his investigations, and painted himself as the perpetual victim of a corrupt system. The audience laughed and applauded, but Crockett remained stone-faced. She waited, letting him speak, allowing him to dig deeper into the performance that had carried him for years. And then, with perfect timing, she began. No raised voice, no dramatic flourish, just cold, precise words delivered with the certainty of someone who knew that once they were spoken, there would be no turning back. The contrast between Trump's bravado and Crockett's calm intensity was striking. The atmosphere shifted instantly, and everyone in the room, from the moderators to the audience members, sensed that the balance of power was about to change. This was no longer a debate. It was a reckoning staged in front of the nation. Crockett leaned closer to the microphone, her tone unshaken, her words deliberate. "Mr. Trump, you've spent years pretending your past doesn't exist. But the truth has a way of catching up. Tonight, we're done with the smoke and mirrors." Trump interrupted immediately, waving his hand with a dismissive laugh. "Oh, please, Jasmine, you don't know what you're talking about. This is the same nonsense the fake news has been pushing for years." His voice rose, louder than hers, trying to drown her out. But Crockett didn't flinch. She raised her volume just enough to slice through his bluster. "The records are real, the documents are authentic, and the names tied to those deals are the same names you swore no one would ever hear." The studio gasped. Trump's smirk faltered. He shifted in his chair, leaned toward the moderator, and tried to pivot. "This is a disgrace. This is exactly why people don't trust Washington. These so-called revelations are nothing but lies. Lies! Crockett fired back instantly. Then explain the offshore accounts. Explain the contracts tied to businesses you claimed you never had dealings with. Explain why your own associates have admitted under oath that they were ordered to keep these details buried. Trump slammed his hand on the table. That's ridiculous. Total fabrication. But the more he protested, the more the cracks in his confidence showed. The moderators tried to intervene, but the momentum had already shifted. Crockett had command of the room, each line she delivered landing with precision. You can shout all you want, she said firmly, but shouting won't erase the truth. It won't erase the trail you left behind, and it won't silence those who finally found the courage to speak. The audience buzzed with tension. Some cheered wildly for Crockett, others booed in defense of Trump. Social media exploded in real time, clips of the exchange already spreading before the broadcast had even ended. Trump's usual dominance in such settings was slipping. He leaned back, his face flushed, muttering into the microphone, "She's wrong, all wrong, nothing but a witch hunt." But the damage was visible. The debate was no longer Trump's show. Crockett had seized the spotlight, and she wasn't letting go. The tension in the studio had reached a breaking point. Trump was red-faced, still muttering accusations of lies and witch hunts, but his words no longer commanded the air. The audience leaned forward, waiting for the next strike, sensing something explosive was about to happen. Crockett paused deliberately, letting the silence grow heavy. Then she spoke with icy clarity. "Mr. Trump, you can call me a liar all night long, but America has already seen the evidence. The money trails, the testimonies, the cover-ups, and here's the truth you fear most. Your past isn't just a collection of mistakes. It's a roadmap of corruption that you can't outrun." Trump shot up in his seat. "That's false! Total falsehoods! You're a disgrace!" His voice cracked as he shouted over her, but Crockett didn't flinch. She leaned into the mic, calm and razor-sharp. "You want to talk about disgrace? Let's talk about what you swore would never be exposed. The hidden deals, the silenced voices, the broken laws. You built an empire on deception, and tonight the mask is gone." The moderator tried to regain control, but the words were already echoing across the studio. Crockett delivered the line that would dominate headlines for days. "America doesn't fear the truth, Donald. You do." The audience erupted. Gasps, cheers, and shouts filled the air. Trump stammered, his hands waving wildly as though he could grab the words back from the broadcast. But the damage was irreversible. His usual weapons, mockery, bravado, and denial, failed him in that instant. For the first time in memory, Donald Trump looked cornered. His face betrayed a panic he couldn't disguise, and the nation witnessed it live. Clips of the moment spread like wildfire. The internet seized on Crockett's final line, replaying it over and over, turning it into the defining soundbite of the night. Commentators across networks called it the blow that shattered Trump's shield of invincibility. On that stage, Crockett had done what few thought possible. She broke through the wall of noise and exposed the man behind it. As the uproar settled, Crockett did not smile, did not gloat, and did not back away. She simply adjusted her microphone and spoke directly to the millions watching at home. Her voice was steady, measured, and unshakably clear. "This moment is not about me, and it's not just about Donald Trump. It's about truth. It's about whether we as a country still have the courage to confront corruption when it stares us in the face. Tonight, the truth broke through, and no matter how loud the denials get, no matter how many insults are thrown, the truth is here to stay." Trump tried to interject, but the moderator silenced him, reminding both sides of the time limits. The audience, however, was no longer divided by noise. They were divided by clarity. Some applauded with raw energy, while others sat in stunned silence. Crockett continued, her tone cutting through the chaos. "The American people deserve leaders who answer to them, not leaders who hide from them. They deserve honesty, not cover-ups. Accountability, not excuses. That is what tonight has shown." The camera zoomed in on Trump, his face tight with frustration, his lips pressed into a line as Crockett's words landed again and again. For a man who thrived on commanding every headline, the realization that he was no longer in control was devastating. Crockett delivered her final words like a verdict. "Mr. Trump, the truth will follow you long after the lights of this studio go dark, and the American people will remember who stood to defend it." The studio thundered with applause. The moderators ended the broadcast, but the conversation had only begun. Within minutes, the internet was ablaze with Crockett's final message, clips racing across every platform, her words resonating with millions who felt they had witnessed history. The clash was over, but the echo remained. Donald Trump had panicked, stumbled, and faced exposure in a way he had never experienced before. Jasmine Crockett had not only challenged him, she had left a mark that could not be erased. And as the credits rolled, one truth was undeniable. The balance of power in that studio, and perhaps in the larger political narrative, had shifted forever.